Hello, Criminal Justice Administration learners. This week, which is week 5 of the course, we move ahead into Module 5 and continue looking at the topic of law enforcement administration. The focus of this week's chapter is on the roles and responsibilities of positions at different levels in law enforcement organizations. You will note as you look at these roles and responsibilities that the hierarchical model that was presented by Weber as bureaucracy in the theory of bureaucracy is very much at play. Law enforcement agencies tend to follow the military model where unity of command is very important, and roles and responsibilities depend on rising through the ranks from the rank and file to the top police officer or law enforcement chief position. In the beginning, you will look, basically this chapter looks from the top down, looking first at the main roles and responsibilities of law enforcement administration leaders, then more or less at the middle level management responsibilities, and then more of the rank and file day-to-day operations. At the top, there is a presentation early in the chapter of the Mintzberg model for administration. And I want to point that out. The Mintzberg model is discussed starting on page 107 of your textbook, 106 and 107 of your textbook, and it basically reviews the various roles of the top administrator in law enforcement and in most organizations. It talks about the figurehead role, the leadership role, and the liaison duties, and the informational role that are played out by top-level individuals. You should look closely at what functions are involved in each of these roles and go over that Mintzberg model so that you're familiar with how that would apply to law enforcement chief executives. The chapter also looks at another theory, which is Katz's theory of administration and leadership. And Katz has a model of theory of leadership and administration that talks about human skills as being important, technical skills as also being important, and conceptual skills. And it's his view that all three of these need to be strong for effective leadership, both at the mid-level of an organization, in law enforcement, for example, and at the top level. In addition, you'll look at the various roles and responsibilities by titles that you're familiar with. The first level of promotion in most law enforcement organizations is sergeant. Then you move up to captains and lieutenants, then perhaps chiefs or deputy chiefs in the organization. It's a pretty typical title structure. Near the close of the chapter, you will look at a slightly different role that occurs with the sheriff in county government, because the county sheriff is not selected through a normal civil service rise through the ranks process. The county sheriff is generally a political position achieved through an election. So there's a different kind of background necessary for success in achieving and carrying out the sheriff's function, both in law enforcement and on the corrections side. And then also near the end of the chapter, you will consider the roles, responsibilities of rank and file police officers, and you'll look at a set of ideas. There are 12 of them, called Nowicki's Ideas about what makes good police and what characteristics are necessary for good policing. After you've read that, you can share your own views on what you think are the most important characteristics as part of this week's assignment. This week we have one discussion, we have one assignment. So I hope you enjoy reading Chapter 5 and the activities of Module 5 and learning more about what makes effective leaders at the top and middle level of law enforcement agencies, and some of the characteristics that are necessary for good rank and file policing. Enjoy your week.